Silence is often misunderstood. Many people see it as a sign of weakness, passiveness, or the inability to respond. But as Muniba Mazari's philosophy reflects, silence can be one of the strongest expressions of inner power. It is the strength of knowing who you are without needing external validation. It is the confidence of not reacting to every voice that tries to define you. Silence, when chosen consciously, becomes a discipline that shapes your character and guards your peace. It is not about being voiceless, it is about being selective with your voice, choosing where and how your energy is spent. When you choose silence, you detach from the noise that constantly surrounds you, the criticism, the assumptions, the negativity, and sometimes even the praise. The world is loud, filled with opinions that can drown your own. Every day, people feel pressure to respond, explain themselves, defend their decisions, or justify their dreams. But silence offers a different kind of courage, the courage to not participate in every argument, to not chase approval, and to not get entangled in unnecessary emotional battles. Silence allows your actions, your work, and your consistency to speak for you in ways words never can. There is a unique clarity that comes from silence. When the external world quiets down, even for a moment the internal world becomes louder. Your thoughts, your dreams, your fears, and your strengths all begin to surface. You begin to see what truly matters and what was merely noise taking up mental space. You understand which battles are worth fighting and which are better left alone. In silence, you realize that not every comment needs a reply, not every misunderstanding needs justification, and not every situation requires you to prove yourself. Often, growth comes from stepping back, not stepping forward. Silence teaches emotional maturity. It trains you to respond, not react. When something hurtful is said, the instinct is to defend or fight back. But in choosing silence, you give yourself time to think, time to feel, time to evaluate whether the situation deserves your energy. Most conflicts are fueled not by the problem itself, but by the heat of immediate reactions. Silence allows your emotions to settle so you can see things with a clearer mind. And from that clarity, wise decisions emerge. Muniba Mazari's life demonstrates that some of the strongest transformations happen in the quietest moments. She often speaks about the internal battles she fought long before she found her public voice. That inner fight, the one no one sees, is where real strength is built. Silence gives you a safe space to process your pain, grieve your losses, understand your fears, and rebuild your confidence. These are intensely personal journeys, and the world does not need to witness them for them to matter. Silence protects the sacredness of your healing. There is also dignity in silence. When you do not respond to negativity, you rise above it. When you choose not to engage in arguments designed to pull you down, you show self-respect. When you refuse to let others define you through their words, you reclaim your power. Silence does not mean surrender, it means mastery. It means you know your worth deeply enough that you don't feel the need to announce it. You don't ask the world to see your value, you carry it quietly. In a culture where constant expression is encouraged, choosing silence becomes a form of rebellion. Everyone is posting, reacting, proving, speaking, and displaying. But silence allows you to move differently. It allows you to observe, learn, and understand more deeply. It allows you to do the work without needing validation at every step. It allows your success to appear not from the noise of announcements, but from the evidence of consistent effort. Silence, therefore, becomes a sanctuary where you can return to yourself. It becomes a reminder that your journey is personal, your peace is precious, and your voice is something to preserve, not waste. It is a discipline that strengthens your mind, nurtures your spirit, and aligns you with your purpose without distractions. Focusing on your own journey is one of the greatest acts of self-respect you can practice. In a world where expectations surround you from every direction, family, society, culture, peers, even strangers, you often begin to live for others long before you discover what it means to live for yourself. Muniba Mazari's message reminds us that the world will always have something to say. People will create standards you never asked for, timelines you never agreed to, and definitions of success that have nothing to do with your purpose. But none of these expectations are your responsibility. Your responsibility is to honor your own path, even when it looks different from everyone else's. The truth is that comparison has become a silent epidemic. You look at other people's lives, their achievements, their milestones, and somewhere in your heart, doubt begins to grow. You start questioning your progress, your choices, your dreams. You forget that every person's life is shaped by circumstances you cannot see. Muniba often says that your journey is yours alone, and trying to measure it against someone else's only steals your joy and blurs your direction. When you focus on your own path, you free yourself from the pressure of living someone else's story. Expectations can feel heavy, especially when they come from people you love. They may want you to follow a certain career, marry at a certain age, behave a certain way, or dream within the boundaries they understand. But true growth begins when you realize that their expectations are reflections of their own fears and beliefs, not a reflection of your capability or purpose. Focusing on yourself does not mean you stop valuing others. It means you stop sacrificing your identity to please them. It means you choose authenticity over approval. There is enormous power in showing up for yourself, even when no one is watching. Consistency is not built in front of an audience. It is built in private moments. The mornings when you feel unmotivated but still rise, the nights when you push through your doubts, the days when the world misunderstands you but you keep going. The journey is not always glamorous. Sometimes it is slow, sometimes it is messy, sometimes it feels lonely. But when your focus is inward, not outward, you begin to understand that progress is not measured by the speed of others. It is measured by your courage to keep moving. People will judge you no matter what you do. They will judge your choices if you follow your dreams, and they will judge your choices if you don't. They will judge your silence, your voice, your pace, your lifestyle, your changes, and sometimes even your healing. But their judgments do not define your worth. What defines you is the relationship you build with yourself, the trust you develop, the boundaries you set, the dreams you dare to pursue, and the resilience you cultivate when life tests you. Focusing on yourself is also an act of emotional freedom. When you stop trying to meet unrealistic expectations, you release yourself from continuous disappointment. You learn to validate yourself instead of waiting for acknowledgement from people who may never understand your vision. You stop allowing others to dictate how far you should go or how high you should aim. The only voice that truly matters becomes the one inside you, the voice that knows your fears, understands your strengths, and dreams without limitations. Muniba teaches that the journey inward is more important than any outward destination. When you focus on your own growth, your own healing, your own dreams, you begin to move with purpose instead of pressure. You stop living for applause and start living for fulfillment. You stop looking sideways and start looking forward. You stop forcing yourself into spaces where you do not belong and start creating spaces where you can flourish. Your pace is your pace. Your timeline is your timeline. You are allowed to start late, move slowly, change directions, or take breaks. You are allowed to reinvent yourself as many times as necessary. What matters is not how fast you reach a destination, but how deeply you understand yourself along the way. Your wounds are not your identity, even though life often tries to convince you otherwise. When something painful happens, an accident, a loss, a betrayal, a failure, the world begins to look at you through the lens of that moment. People start associating you with what went wrong instead of what you are capable of becoming. Muniba Mazari's message reminds us that pain is only a chapter, not the entire story. What happens to you shapes you, yes, but it does not define the essence of who you are. Your identity is not built from your suffering. It is built from your strength, your choices, and your courage to rise again. Many people believe their wounds make them less. They see scars and think of damage, not survival. They see difficult experiences as reasons to hide, to shrink, or to doubt their worth. But wounds can become extraordinary teachers. They show you your resilience. They reveal your capacity to endure. They highlight the truth that you are far stronger than the circumstances that tried to break you. The world may see your wounds as weaknesses, but in silence and self-reflection, you come to understand that they are evidence of your power. The hardest part is that wounds often speak loudly inside you. They echo with memories, fears, and insecurities. They remind you of moments you wish you could erase. And in those moments, it becomes easy to believe that you are defined by what hurt you. But Muniba's life shows that pain can be transformed. She did not allow her accident to dictate her destiny. Instead, she allowed her wounds to guide her toward empathy, purpose, and inner strength. She chose to rise with her scars, not hide them. That choice is available to everyone, even though it requires courage. Healing is not linear. Some days you feel strong, other days the wound feels fresh again. Some days you are brave, other days you feel fragile. But none of this means you are broken. It means you are human. Healing requires patience, gentleness, and the willingness to sit with your emotions instead of running from them. And in those quiet moments of reflection, you begin to understand that wounds do not reduce your value. They deepen your understanding of life. They make you more compassionate, more aware, and more grounded. People often fear showing their wounds because they worry about judgment. They fear being seen as weak, flawed, or less capable. But hiding your pain does not make it disappear, it only buries it inside you. When you acknowledge your wounds, you begin the journey toward transforming them. You learn to accept your past without letting it imprison you. You learn to carry your experiences with dignity instead of shame. And slowly your wounds turn into wisdom. Your wounds are not your identity because identity is built from how you respond to life, not how life treats you. Two people can experience the same pain and choose entirely different paths. One may give up, while the other rises stronger. The difference lies not in the wound itself, but in the mindset that follows. When you choose to learn from your pain, you reclaim control. You decide what meaning your experiences will hold. You decide whether your wounds will limit you or liberate you. There is a quiet truth that many people overlook. Your scars are not signs of defeat, they are signs of survival. They prove that you faced something meant to destroy you and walked away with the strength to tell the story. They show that even in the darkest moments you did not disappear. You remained, you endured, you adapted, you grew, and that resilience is part of who you are, not the wound, but the warrior who kept going. The world might judge your wounds, but it cannot feel them. It cannot understand the nights you spent fighting your fears or the mornings you chose to rise despite your doubts. Only you know the depth of your journey. Only you know the weight you have carried. And that truth alone proves that your identity is far greater, far richer, and far stronger than anything that ever tried to break you. Growth happens quietly, often in moments so small and subtle that even you may not notice them at first. The world celebrates loud success, visible achievements, and grand transformations, but true change begins in silence. It begins in the moments when you sit alone with your thoughts, in the nights when doubt whispers but you keep going anyway, in the mornings when you choose discipline over comfort. Muniba Mazari's philosophy reflects this beautifully. What is meant to bloom does not rush, and what is meant to grow does not seek attention. Real growth unfolds privately, away from eyes that judge and voices that interfere. We live in a culture that rewards visibility. People feel pressured to announce every achievement, every goal, every new beginning. But growth does not need an audience. In fact, growth is often strongest when no one is watching, because it becomes pure, free from comparison, validation, or performance. When you grow quietly, you grow for yourself, not for applause. You grow at your own pace, without feeling rushed by the timelines of others. You begin to understand that progress is not something you display. It is something you experience. Seeds take root in darkness before they ever reach the light. The soil is silent, but beneath the surface, something extraordinary is happening. Strength is forming. Foundations are building. Life is preparing to emerge. The same is true for you. Your silent seasons, the ones where you feel unseen, unnoticed, or stuck, are often the seasons where your inner foundation is being built. You are becoming stronger, even if the world cannot see it yet. You are learning resilience, patience, and self-trust, which become the roots that anchor you when life becomes difficult. Silence also protects your process. When you share your dreams too early, you expose them to unnecessary opinions, doubts, and negativity. Not everyone will understand your vision. Not everyone will support your healing. Not everyone will believe in your goals. Growing quietly allows you to guard your dreams while they are still fragile. It gives you space to experiment, improve, and make mistakes without the pressure of judgment. It gives you time to evolve before the world forms an opinion about your journey. There is a special kind of peace that comes from keeping parts of your life private. You no longer feel compelled to justify your choices or explain your progress. You stop seeking validation from external sources and begin listening to your own internal compass. You learn to trust your intuition, even when others cannot see what you're building. And that trust becomes a powerful force that guides your growth with clarity and confidence. Quiet growth also teaches discipline. It shows you that consistency matters more than intensity, that small daily steps matter more than sudden leaps. Many people crave instant transformation, but the greatest changes happen gradually, one habit at a time, one decision at a time, one quiet breakthrough at a time. You may not see the results immediately, but that does not mean nothing is happening. Silent effort accumulates, silent progress compounds. Silent resilience becomes visible strength. Muniba often speaks about how her transformation began internally long before anyone saw it. Her growth was not the result of a single moment, but a collection of countless silent battles, moments of reflection, acceptance, and courage that the world never witnessed. This truth applies to everyone. The most meaningful parts of your journey are the ones no one else sees. They are the private choices that shape your character, the internal shifts that redirect your life, the quiet decisions that redefine your future. When growth happens quietly, it becomes more authentic. You are not trying to impress anyone. You are not performing. You are simply evolving. You allow yourself to become who you are meant to be without outside pressure shaping your identity. You begin to understand that success is not measured by how loudly you achieve, but by how deeply you transform. And with each silent step, each internal victory, each moment of quiet self-discovery, you continue to grow in ways that will one day speak loudly without you ever needing to say a word. The only competition you will ever truly face is the person you were yesterday. This idea may seem simple, but it carries a depth that can transform the way you live. From childhood, society trains you to compare your grades, your appearance, your achievements, your timelines, even your dreams. Without realizing it, you begin to measure your worth by external markers, constantly looking sideways instead of forward. But Muniba Mazari's message reminds us that competition with others is an illusion. Their journey is not your blueprint. Their success is not your deadline. Their pace is not your race. The only person you are meant to surpass is the version of yourself that existed before today. When you stop comparing yourself to others, you reclaim your power. Comparison steals joy and replaces it with insecurity, pressure, and dissatisfaction. You begin to feel like you are always behind, even when you are exactly where you need to be. But when you compete only with yourself, you shift your focus inward. You begin to look at your own progress instead of someone else's achievements. You start noticing your growth, your resilience, your small victories. You begin to appreciate the journey rather than resenting it. Being your own competition also helps you set healthier goals. Instead of trying to be better than someone else, you try to be better than who you were. You aim to be a little braver, a little more patient, a little more disciplined, a little kinder. These goals create lasting change because they are rooted in personal growth, not comparison. They make your journey more meaningful and your progress more sustainable. And every time you improve, even in the smallest way, you win, not against others, but against your own limitations. There is deep freedom in detaching your worth from external validation. When you no longer measure yourself by someone else's success, you release the pressure to prove yourself constantly. You stop rushing, forcing, and overthinking. You allow yourself to grow at your own pace. You allow yourself to make mistakes without feeling like a failure. You allow yourself to take breaks when needed. You begin to trust the timing of your own life instead of racing against a deadline that was never meant for you. Your past self is both your teacher and your competitor. Every challenge you overcame, every lesson you learned, every moment you survived has shaped the person you are today. Competing with your past means honoring your struggles while refusing to stay stuck in them. It means acknowledging your progress instead of dismissing it. It means recognizing how far you have come, even if you are not yet where you want to be. Progress is still progress, no matter how small. Muniba often reminds us that the person in the mirror holds the power to transform your life. That reflection is not your enemy, it is your responsibility. You owe it to yourself to grow, to heal, to rise. And when you pour your energy into becoming a better version of you, you begin to create a life that is aligned with your dreams, not shaped by others' expectations. You realize that your journey is unique, your purpose is personal, and your growth is sacred. The most beautiful part of competing with yourself is this: you can never lose. There is no winning and losing in self-improvement. There is only evolving. You are not trying to defeat yourself. You are trying to elevate yourself. Every day becomes a chance to grow. Every setback becomes a chance to learn. Every victory becomes a reminder that your effort matters. In the end, life becomes far more peaceful when you look in the mirror instead of looking around. When you realize that the only person you need to be better than is who you were yesterday, you finally step into a journey that is yours. Authentic, intentional, and beautifully human. And in that journey, you discover that true success is measured not by how far ahead you are of others, but by how deeply you have grown within yourself.